name is Kristine Nelson, and this is my story. I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina in 2008. I didn't have a car, I didn't have any family out here, and it was through Habitat for Humanity that I met my husband. I met him on one of my first house builds. I was a site supervisor and he was a volunteer. What drew me to him was he had a past, and he was doing everything he could to put one foot in front of the other. And I really admired that, and that really drew me to him. And he struggled with addiction. And that was my first exposure to being with someone that struggled. I was innocent, I was naive, I didn't think it was anything that we couldn't overcome together. But little did I know that addiction was alive and well in our marriage. I was the other woman, and the addiction was first. 2016, we hit a wall. I felt the Lord leading me to separate from my husband because it wasn't healthy for us to continue the way that we were going, and for restoration and healing to take place, that was a boundary that had to be set. Things got worse, and my flesh got the better of me, and I thought, you know what? I'm not going to separate from my husband. I'm going to divorce him because I don't deserve this. I deserve better, and all my friends are on board, so it must mean that this is what I need to do. Lord, I'm going to divorce him. I didn't realize it until the end. You know, the Lord was giving me what I wanted, but it was driving me further and further away from what the Lord wanted for me. I remember being so depressed. I was driven into depression. It was around the holidays, and I fell to my knees and I just started pouring my heart out to the Lord. And He really laid, for the first time, for me as a Christian, He really laid on my heart the message of grace and the message of mercy. I didn't deserve it. Lord knows I didn't deserve it. And yet He gave it to me freely. I didn't understand it, but I trusted Him. That was a wake-up call for me, and I thought, okay, Lord, I'm not going to move forward with divorce, because that confirmed that that wasn't the Lord's will for us. It was just after Christmas that I had met with my husband. We had dinner at his mother's house, and it was the first time I had seen him in months. And I remember telling him that the Lord had changed my heart, and I asked Him to forgive me. And I still had hope that the Lord was going to do something amazing if we just stay the course. We had hope that we were going to overcome this, and that my husband was going to be delivered, and that He was going to restore our marriage. And the Lord did, just not the way I had expected. Beginning of this year, 2018, where my husband, he was in a wreck. He was in an accident that where he slid on the road and broke 3 bones in his leg. What happens when you take someone to the hospital and they have an injury? You put them on pain medication. My husband had such an addictive spirit. It didn't matter what the substance was. Brandon couldn't go back to work because his leg was broken. He couldn't go back in recovery because he had substances in his system. So the Lord worked it out for Brandon to come back home. And I told my husband, I said, you know, move back in with me. You know, I'm ready to share the rest of my life with you. So he did, and it was the best 3 days of my life. And I remember staying up past midnight till 5 in the morning, just talking and laughing and going over jokes and just loving on each other. And the Lord restored our marriage. The Lord answered my prayer, just not in the way I'd expected. So we had a beautiful 3 days together. And then one day he told me he wasn't coming home, that he had messed up and he made a mistake and he relapsed and he just couldn't face it anymore. He couldn't. Brandon's mother said, I found out where Brandon is. He's at a motel in Rock Hill, and we get to this motel and we saw Brandon, and he was so far gone. I had never seen him like that before. And finally Brandon's mom says, do you want us to call the hospital? Do you want us to get you help? And he looks at his mother and says, Mom, I've got to do this for myself. You can't keep saving me. I've got to do it. On the way home, I just poured my heart out to the Lord, and I just kept praying and asking and just crying out to him to deliver Brandon and to have his way in his life, to do whatever it would take to deliver him from these chains. The last words he said to us were, Mom, Kristine, I love you. I love you. And you can tell that was him. That was my husband. That was Brandon. It wasn't the addiction speaking. It was him. He died of an overdose that night. Brandon's mom was the one who discovered it the following morning. Over the next 3 months, I really struggled. I remember one night clinging to my husband's shirt and just pouring tears into it. And the words just came out of my mouth. Take me home, Jesus. Lord, I'm ready. I'm so ready. Take me home. You know, I thought of couples that die within weeks or months of their spouse leaving this place, and I think, why can't that happen to me? I can't move on. I just can't. And I was convinced that I was going to die in my sleep. And sure enough, I woke up the next morning and I was still here. And over the next several months, the Lord helped me to see that there is goodness in the land of the living, that there is still hope here. I've learned that God never changes. He remains the same. And his faithfulness, I can rely on. I can hope in. I can put my trust in his faithfulness. And he won't ever fail me. His mercies are new in the morning. And he still chose to die for me, regardless of my flaws, regardless of my husband's imperfections. He still died for me. And nothing I do, nothing I can say can change his love for me.